Well, welcome everybody to our particular masterclass for today, where we're really focusing on the importance of getting kids up to speed with the skills that they'll need for the future, because it's really interesting to see what is going to be unfolding as we move forward. So I'm just going to share screen here to get us underway, make sure, I've got my colleague Leonie with me. So colleague, Leonie, just checking that we've got the right screen happening there.
Yes.
Okay, let's get underway then. So why upskilling is important for young people right now is the focus for this particular masterclass. Just do a little introduction. We've got Angie will be coming and joining us. Now, Angie is the co-founder and leader of Genius School. There's myself, and I have a background in education, and I'm an educator with Genius School, plus also leading a couple of the particular programs. And I've got my colleague with me, Leonie. And Leonie is an educator as well, and part of our Genius School group, and also helps out with some of the leadership in the programs that we run. So what are we going to be covering today? The very first thing is really looking at the big picture of why it's important for young people to be upskilled, because we often hear the term the new future or the future of work, but there's a whole new era evolving because things are moving at such a rapid pace. We'll look at some essential skills that are going to be necessary, as well as the job opportunities that will open up for young people and even for ourselves if we're wanting to embrace the new era. We'll share with you our particular three-step process that we use, and we'll cover off on some of the techniques and strategies that we use, and we'll share those with you as well so that you can use them if you're working with young people or you're working as a coach or whatever it might be. In fact, if you want to, it'd be lovely if you could put into the chat what your work is with young people, whether it's a parent or whether you're a coach or whether you're a teacher, whether you're just interested in supporting young people. So that'd be great for us to know that. Our key focus in our steps is the learn to learn, the learn to discern, and the learn to earn. And it's a whole different process that we use rather than the traditional methods that happen within education. One of the big things that we see happening is that the education system isn't really staying up to speed with what's happening in the reality of the world around us. At the top there, the top point I've got is the artificial intelligence and machine learning are disrupting all aspects of life. In fact, I'm just going to go to this image, and I hope that people can see that. This popped up on my Facebook feed today, and I thought, well, how timely is this in the midst of looking at what we're doing? Just got to get something out of the way here. Just bear with me. I'll just get Leonie's little message and Angie's message out of the way. There we go. So this image popped up, and I thought how true this is, that the machines are using artificial intelligence, the robots, the computer systems are actually gathering and harvesting data, and then without any explicit instruction are then able to have output in doing certain things, whether it be facial recognition, whether it be predictive text, whether it be recommending a product to us when we're doing our search, or even on Facebook if you're on Facebook. And then here we are, the humans, all just hooked on checking our mobile devices. And so I thought that was quite fascinating to consider, particularly in the midst of what's happening here with the disruption that it's having on all of our lives. And that's why there is a need for students and individuals of all ages needing to have a more personalised way of engaging in education and engaging in learning. And of course, most parents and students will agree that the education system as we have it now is really not responsive enough to what is happening. In fact, it's focused more on being content driven rather than being skills or process driven, which is essential to help our young people to get the skills they need for this new future of work. And the other issue that we have is the post-pandemic youth unemployment, that young people are underemployed. So we've got young people who are graduating and they may have a higher education qualification, but they're not finding the employment. So they're taking up jobs for the sake of having work, whereby they're not utilising their skills and their learning that they have. So this is a big issue now as we progress into the world of work and also the future opportunities. One of the major things that I see emerging are the skills that are needed. And I've done some investigation into this and found that over the time, we see this shift in the skills that happens pretty rapidly now. At the beginning of this century, we were talking about 21st century skills or soft skills. We're now talking at a whole different range of skills, but still building on that foundation. So here, when we talk about digital skills, this is all about the skills that we talked about in the 21st century skill set, whereby people need to understand how to use the tech tools, but they also need to go even further than that, in that they need to be able to use those tools to be innovative and creative, and also to create things that are more relevant and also that are more up to date. So we've got this mastering of the digital tech skills, especially in the areas of understanding what algorithms are all about and how to design them, and then how to handle the data. So that's what we call the digital fluency or digital literacy, where it's not just about the tech skills, it's all about being able to know how to harvest relevant information and then to use it and analyze it and synthesize it, and then to be responsible in how we're creating it back. So if we've got the computer systems and machine learning are actually using that data that we're creating, then we need to be responsible in how we're doing it. So this is a skill that young people are going to need in their future, especially as they move into this area where they're going to be exercising their creativity and they're going to be solving meaningful problems in a new way. Like if we think about some of the sectors in industry, you know, health, we need to be dealing with health matters and problems in a different way than what we did, say, a decade ago. So this is something where if they're learning these new skills, whether it be health or finance or engineering or science or whatever it might be, they're able to use their creativity in innovative and original ways. And that means thinking imaginatively across disciplines. So knowing that what they might create in one may have impact on another. And in fact, it would be powerful if they're creating something that will have benefit across multiple disciplines as well. So this is where we need to be smarter in how we work in the future workforce, in what we bring. And this is where our young people really need to be in that space. Another skill that they're going to need, and even now we're seeing that evident, is the skill of collaboration, that ability to no longer just work on your own and do your own thing, but to bring others on board and to combine the thinking that sits behind that. So all of us think in different ways, and some of us are great at doing the brainstorming, divergent thinking. Some of us are really great at taking all the ideas and bringing that down and using convergent thinking to say, well, this is the best solution. So if we're working collaboratively together to do that, then we're actually able to produce far more productive output than what we would as an individual. And I know, Leonie, we've both had experience in high school or secondary school education, where as the students go through, it tends to be more individualized learning. Is that what you've experienced as well? You might just be on mute there, Leonie.
There we go. I turned it off. Yes, especially towards year 11 and 12, where it's all about preparing for exams. So it's very much students setting up their own, study processes and so on, and it's done individually. However, having said that, my youngest son, when he was actually sitting for his exams, he would get together with a group, and they would go to the library in Perth and spend all afternoon. And Joel said he learnt more in that 3 or 4 hours of collaboration with his friends than he did in hours and hours working on his own. So even he recognised the power of collaboration in helping him understand, because everyone comes to things from different perspectives and it helps you understand things better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's that second point there, adjusting your actions in relation to other people's needs. So this is where we need to be focusing, and this is where I'm afraid the current education system, particularly as young people get older, within formal education, it's making them more an individual rather than preparing them for the world of work, which is the collaboration and doing that. And then the whole concept too of understanding now what global citizenship means. Once upon a time, it was all about being a responsible global citizen and doing your bit to save the planet. Whereas now it's far more than that. It's really a case of, the new future of work. The young people are going to have to be able to work with other people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different values, and working together. So they're needing to understand what it is to embrace all of that diversity and be inclusive in what they're doing. So that's a new skill.
Can I just interrupt there too?
Yeah.
With things like Open University now, there's also that notion of having people from all over the world come together to be in the same units, which is quite different to going to a campus where the demographic tends to be sort of much more obviously in that country. But with Open University, there's very much more that global aspect where you have people who are literally in different time zones all over the world working together, and when there are team tasks to do and putting things in discussion boards, it's absolutely fascinating getting different cultural perspectives on problems and those sorts of things as well. So again, the technology is allowing that more and more within education.
Yes, and the whole 24/7 cycle of the workforce that's going to be emerging as well is going to be crucial. And that's why this particular skill is essential for our young people. And then this is probably one that we may not have had previously in the past. It kind of percolated, but now it's become quite evident that environmental stewardship is a key skill as well, because we're going to be having organisations that are going to need to do environmental impact studies. And if we were to think about new transport systems or infrastructure or new land development or maybe natural mineral extraction, how that can be done sustainably and responsibly, even how we can sustain agricultural systems so that we can produce our own food. So this is a skill that's going to be in place as well. And there you see the key words, understanding the fragility and finiteness of the natural ecosystems, and then how we can interact with that so that when we're being responsible and we're sustaining it for current generations and future generations. So these are a whole group of skills that are absolutely crucial and are now becoming quite evident. So if we look at the 10 jobs of the future, this is where it gets really interesting. And if you look at each of these jobs that have been identified by the World Economic Forum, so that these jobs are in place by 2030, you'll see that they're kind of a mash of different understandings. So for instance, if we look at, say, a data detective, we know what data is. It's a whole lot of information that's out there. And then a detective does investigation. So they're doing analysis of the data. So they're looking for patterns and trends. So we bring them all together. So that type of job, and a number of these jobs might be kind of gig type jobs where the person is taking their skill set to an organisation and contributing to that. Or if the organisation is progressive and forward thinking, they would have some of these people in place as well. So even taking the first one, the work from home, we've probably seen that as a job for now. Post-pandemic or during pandemic, this was what was happening. People were working remotely from home. And even from my own personal experience, I became a work from home facilitator over a decade ago. The technology was there. I had the opportunity. I was tired of living out of a suitcase, traveling around, doing professional learning and development and working with teachers and students, that now I can work remotely because the technology is there. So I'm facilitating learning through a home-based business and a home-based opportunity. And so this is just one way that we can see that now, because we understand what that's all about. Because post-pandemic, we're still seeing some businesses are looking at keeping people at home, but also looking at maybe making shorter working weeks. So they're looking at 4 days rather than 5 days. So all of these things are happening and it's evolving at a rapid rate. I love the fitness commitment counsellor. I think all of us would probably say we need someone to keep us accountable to make sure that we're keeping our fitness and our diet and our weight under control. But also too, we have the whole digital wearable technology. So this is where the machine learning, artificial intelligence is coming in, but we need the human aspect in all of this. So for each of these, there's the human element, but there's also the machine computer systems and technology that run behind it as well. And that's where we don't want to be dumbing down our thinking. We want to be able to lift our thinking up to be part of that whole process of how we use the technology. And that means our young people need to develop the skills. So that's number 10 there, that human machine team manager, whereby it's the machine will do something, the machine learning with artificial intelligence and algorithms and everything behind it, and then the person who's going to manage the team and the interaction that happens. So we'd love to hear from you in the context of what we've shared about future jobs and also the skills. What sort of things do you see as a problem with our current education system or the way that education is delivered? What are the issues that are arising here in this whole process? So if you're keen, you can pop something into the text. And then while you're doing that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background here about the Genius School, what we're on about. So the Genius School focuses very much on the child, the holistic learning process that is involved in learning as a young person and that personalised pathway. So designing and providing opportunities for young people to learn at their own pace and within their own space, utilising their skills that they develop. So we're igniting the natural genius, talents and strengths in the children. We're also creating these self-aware lifelong learners so they understand what it is to set their learning scenarios and to engage in the learning and to utilize the skills that they're developing as they engage with us. And then as a result of that, we're empowering these future change makers and leaders in that whole process with Genius School. And we'll share some stories around that as well as the tools that we use. So our young people are all learning, discerning and earning together, and our educators are in that same phase as well, that we're engaging in this whole learning process. Now, when we run the program or we talk to people about Genius School, a lot of people say, what do you mean by genius? Because they think it's could possibly be programs that are for young people who are quite talented and gifted, but really our programs are suiting everybody because we work from this premise that a genius comes from the original Latin terminology and from ancient Roman thinking, whereby a child is born with their own particular innate abilities that they have, that then they naturally have a unique personality that we can nurture and develop, and it's just tapping into that. So you've got the Latin terms there, and so that's the innate dispositions, talents, and the inborn nature that a young person has. So it's developing this concept of divine and talent all together is how we work with using the concept of genius in the programs that we do. Now, as part of this, we have tools that we use to help to identify the natural genius within a young person. And in the context of this masterclass, we want to go through some aspects about the natural genius. And as we're doing that, think about where you fit or how you show up as one of these genius energies as well, but then also the concept of being dressed for success, that whole process of how you show up, how you learn, how you apply your learning for our young people to develop those skills. So we have 4 genius energies. We have the first one, the dynamo, which is all about creativity and ideas and innovation. We have the blaze, which is a people smart, all about being involved with people and communicating and connecting. We have our tempo, which is a senses smart, which is all about the timing and the pace, all about slowing things down so that everything is balanced and works in a way that's productive for everyone. And then our steel is our detail smart. So that's the sense of knowing. It's the concept of looking at the details and knowing that there's a process that you can go through that allows you to work smarter and more efficiently. And then right in the middle, we have what we call our spirit energy, which is all about being on purpose. So making sure that we're doing things that are easy for us to do by using our natural talents and capabilities. So each genius has certain unique elements And what we do is we find that we show up predominantly as one of these, but we also have a blend of some of the others as well. So in the first stages of learning to learn, it's great when our young people know this, because then they can build on this and be more in flow with what they're doing. So as I said before, the dynamo is idea smart. So they're the people who have the big visions, the big pictures. They're really great at coming up with new ideas and bold strategies to go forward. And for them to do that, they love that freedom to be creative, to be able to use their imagination and their intuition to come up with all different things that they can use to engage in their learning, explore learning in different ways, but also to then have that output of productivity that's very creative and innovative. They answer the question what. So they're really good at that. Anything that has a what in front of it, what should we do to solve this problem? What can happen now in the world? What do we need to be learning here? They'll come up with all of the answers in response to that. And they create value through innovation. So if we look at some of the global characters down along the bottom there, these people have come up with innovative ideas. Richard Branson with the airlines and the mobile phones, all of the things that he's creating, going into space, all of that sort of thing. And then if anyone's uses Apple devices, then you thank Steve Jobs for that. So these people come up with all these innovative ways. And so they would have used their natural way to learn to get to that point. And that's really that they're predominantly a visual learner, that they like to see things, but then they'll bring in other modalities to help them to really speed up their efficiency at learning. And they need significance. And to do that, they have to have the freedom to grow. They have to have that freedom to be creative, not confined in any way, but to be creative in everything that they do. Now, if you've considered some of these and you think that that's aligned to you, then we need to move on to the next one. So you can put a few ticks there to say, yep, some of those things relate to me for being able to learn. And then we have our Blaze. Now, our Blaze loves the conversations and the discussions. And as Leonie shared before, for her son, it was getting into the groups and being able to engage in that activity whereby you're communicating with other people. And so you're learning at a faster pace because you're not just relying on your own energy in that capacity. So the Blaze energy loves to be around people. They love the debate, the stories, the discussions, the debates, all of those sorts of things. And they're great at answering the who. So who should be in the group so that we can learn together? Who should be there to help us? That's all part of their process as well. And they create value. So when they're dressed up for success, they create value through communication. So they're really great at being the spokesperson, or they're really great at being the presenter or the performer. And they get into flow, which keeps them happy by demonstrating respect. By this, we mean that they will respect everybody who is around them in their group, that everybody they know and acknowledge has a contribution to make to actually get to the end result. And that's where that whole concept of that we talked about before, that skill development of collaboration is evident. For them, they're predominantly auditory. So they will learn through hearing first and foremost, and then bring in some of the modalities as well to support them. But they love to be in that space where they're engaging with other people and the conversation. And so they need that variety. They need to mix with different people, having new experiences. And then I've got there the freedom to glow, because they need to shine. And that's what a Blaze energy loves to do. And then if we come to the tempo, when they show up in their learn to learn space, then they're going to be more about being attuned to their senses and how they're feeling about engaging with others and how they feel about the learning. And so they will be very kinesthetic. They like to get involved in the activities and the projects because they learn by that whole concept of engagement through touch and feel and getting involved. But they love to be consultative because they're the tempo, because they're sensory thinkers. They like to be able to engage with everybody and make sure that everybody has a part to play. So their focus is on those timing elements and place. So the when and the where are the great questions that they can engage with. And they're really good at that because they know when something needs to happen. They know where, so they know when an assignment, might need to be due. They know all of the resources and where they're going to go to get them. So for them, they really get into their space by being present at all times. So they're connected in many ways with other people who are in the group. So they're great within groups and making sure that everybody has their part to play. But for them, they need that connection, but they have to have the freedom to go slowly, to take it at their pace and not rush things through, which is different to the dynamo energy who wants to go at such a rapid pace. The tempo wants to take a little bit slower and spend a bit more time engaging in the task. Whereas we move around to our steel energy, which is our details, for them, they want to really get into the processes and the checklists and the structure and the systems that sit behind it and the information as well. So that's why we see them as predominantly an analytic learner, because they want to really look in detail at things so that they can understand and also bring about better understanding for others, because they're great at simplifying things. Once they understand, they're good at simplifying and then letting other people know the how to do something, the framework or the process to go through. So for them, they like to be very disciplined in what they're doing, and they're happy being able to create their own sense of flow through following the processes and procedures. And for them, they need certainty. They need to have all the detail so that then they can go and learn and understand without having to be going backwards and forwards all the time. Whereas the opposite to them is the blaze. The blaze will like all the variety, and they'll be jumping in and out of things and different experiences as part of the learning and engaging in all different conversations. Whereas our detail smart prefers more to get everything and then learn at their own pace and also learn in their own space. And so for them, they need to have predictability and certainty for them to be able to learn. So each of us will be able to identify with some of these unique attributes, but it's a case of how do you show up as your best self? For me, I'm a dynamo, so I'm very much visual in what I want to do, but I also have some of the other energies. So then I'll resort maybe to the steel energy because I like to know some of the processes and come then back to the creativity. So Leonie, what would you say for you is predominantly where you would show up in your learning, and then what mix you would have from there?
Definitely dynamo. When I did my profile, it was very much up in that quadrant, and also some of the steel energy, which is, for me, it's all of that organizational. Being a teacher librarian, there's very much that sequencing, spreadsheets, organizing things. I'm not as strong in the blaze and the tempo. I think probably there's aspects with connecting with people, but I tend to like developing projects on my own. I'm not as strong a collaborator. So yeah, definitely the dynamo and then steel, I think.
Yeah, I'm probably less on the blaze when my profile came up, but I do have some tempo. So that means I want to get the kinesthetic, I want to get the hands-on and engage in that as well. And I'm pretty good at the project management. So all of these skills we're keen to get for our young people as well. And the way that we do that, we use this as the foundation point. And just to share with you, these, I'm going to share a couple of the tools that we use, which are free, that you can use as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the link here, and I'm going to put it into the chat. So if you want to grab this, what you'll find in the chat, there are 3 little dots down in the text area where you key in your information, and you can click on that and then you can save the chat. So this means that you can save everything as we get to the end, and I'll give you a reminder, and then you can save that, and then you'll have access to this as well. So if you're working with young people as a teacher or a coach, or if you're a parent, you might want to use this with your child so that you can see which genius they show up as predominantly, and then begin to explore some of the information, because it generates a little report once you do the actual quiz that's attached to this. And then there's also some little videos in this as well. So it means that you can go through those, and those videos explore how you learn, how you can be a leader, how you can kind of live your life so that you're experiencing things that are bringing you joy. And then also that links to how you can love your life as well. So that's the tool that we use with the kids. And then the other one that we've got here is the Genius quiz that is for the parents or the adults, I guess we can say here. So what I'll do is I'll pop that into the chat as well. So the actual adult version, just grab that, put it in. And so that one as well. So if you're an adult and you're working with young people, this would be useful for you as well, because I know as a teacher, when I actually did my Genius quiz and I saw how I show up as a teacher, as an educator, and then I started to understand also the students as well, that they could show up as any one of those different energy types. It helps you to think about the way that you're engaging with them in a traditional classroom, or even how you're engaging with them in an online or virtual space as well. And in particular, if you're designing your lessons and your programs, keeping that in mind, that you need to be reaching out to every particular genius type when you're engaging in the teaching and learning process. The other thing that we have, which goes into more detail, because the energies is only kind of 4 energies, we use a particular profiling tool which identifies individual characteristics and goes into more detail. And there are 8 different profiles that we work with. So if you're familiar with things like Myers-Briggs or any of those other profiling tools, you'll understand what I'm talking about here. And for us, we have the 8 profiles, but there's a small cost because there's the generation of the report and it's more detail in what it does. But this particular link I'm going to share with you here is for doing the teen dynamics, and it's suitable for children who are between the years of about 10 through to about 18. Or if they're involved in education at a higher education, it's still very useful for them as well, because this particular report that's generated is very geared up to supporting young people in the whole learning process. And then, of course, we have an adult version as well. And again, it's the 8 profiles. So you'll see there the 8 profiles. And so for Leonie and I, we're here in the middle as creators, but because we both have some sort of steel detail energy, we have a little bit of the mechanic shows up for us, but we also have the star profile. So that's when we get up and do things like this and become presenters and teachers and in front of classes and so forth. So that's our particular mix here and blend. So each person has individual profile, but then they have some input from either side of their primary profile that's there. So I'll just put that detail into the chat as well. Just bear with me here while I get that into place. There we go. And again, there's a cost involved for that because of the platform hosting and the report and everything that goes with it. The uniqueness that we have in some of the stories that we can share with you are some of the successes when we're engaging with young people in helping them to develop some of these skills, but then I guess the output and the results that we see as a result of them being involved. And so for Corinne, at 12 years when she started with us, for her, she was very passionate about art, but she wasn't being supported within her traditional schooling system to progress that in any way. And so when she came and joined us for one of our programs, we took her through that whole process of where does your natural genius and talent and capability and skill reside? And so she came up here as a creator as well. And that's when she began to see that she could use her passion for modern art as a way to start to express herself, but also bring some joy to other people as well. So for her, it was the modern abstract art, and her goal was to create this artwork and to be able to then sell it or exhibit it, display it, so that other people could see and what she was doing, and it would give them good vibes, or it would bring back memories that were positive and joyous for them. As she continued to do this, she progressed into doing jewelry as well, and recently into photography. So for her, as her skills developed, she's engaged more in things that she's passionate about that allow to bring out her own natural creativity and her genius. So we're delighted when we see this all evolving, because we're allowing the students to engage in something that they're passionate about, but also then developing those particular skills, you know, the creativity skills, the understanding of what it is to be a global citizen and bringing joy to other people, not just people in their local community through an art exhibition, but also to be able to sell her artwork and bring it out into a global arena and audience. Now, if you've got any questions, don't forget to key those in, and we'll stop along the way to look at that. The next step is the step up. So we've done the show up, which is the learn to learn. Now, the next process we use is the step up, which is learn to discern. And this is really crucial. If we go back to looking at this particular image, which is the machines are learning, but the humans are hooked, and the machines are actually engaging in activities which then feed the data in that then they're using to then produce the output, then this is really where we need to be exercising and not dumbing down our thinking and being dependent on the machines. We need to be uplifting our skill set so that we're learning to discern. And so we do this through a process of making sure that we help our young learners understand how to use their genius naturally, but how to explore the others as well. As I said before, everybody has an element of their genius energy showing up. It's just a case of how do we use that then to be able to be discerning, to be more responsible learners, to be discerning consumers of information, but then also to be responsible creators of the information that we then share. And this is why I call it a multimodal learning maze. So we've got our dynamo and our blaze and our tempo and steel, each bringing different energies, each bringing different ways of thinking. So our dynamo is more intuitive in thinking, whereas our blaze is more convergent. In other words, they will just pop all these different ideas and different ways to explore things and have multiple avenues that they want to pursue, and it's drawing from the people that they engage with. And our kinesthetic is more sensory, more connected with the different senses that they bring to understanding how learning takes place. And our steel is more convergent. So they're great at then taking things and then bringing it down to one to simplify the process. But each of these are asking different questions, and they're better at some than others. And if we keep these questions in mind when our young people are engaging with information and data, then they're open-ended questions, which means that they open up different ways to explore information. Your what question will produce multiple different solutions to something. Your who question will reveal the different people that you would engage with to help you to engage in that learning. The people who will help you, the people who'll be in your group, the people that you go to who might be an expert. So that brings that aspect in. And then the tempo is the when and the where. So where will you get this information? What different formats are you going to explore that will give you the information? And when is it important? Looking at the timing. So this is the thing that artificial intelligence is not so good at, because it only can work on the data that's already out there. And so if we think about the latest craze of the ChatGPT will only draw on data from about 3 or 4 years ago. It won't draw on data that's current because it hasn't yet been exposed to that to be able to do that learning in inverted commas. Whereas if we're a discerning learner, then we will be looking at the most relevant and current and up-to-date information to be able to be responsive in our learning processes and the things that we will create. And our steel is looking at all the detail, the processes, the steps that you would go through, the structures that are there, the learning frameworks that will help you to navigate a digital environment. So this is really important that we've got all this happening in the space. And then when we're looking at the learn to discern, Okay, I'm just going to stop that there. The phone ringing away here. Don't know where you can hear that. So in this here, the learn to discern, this is where we're using the ikigai. And the ikigai is something that people use in business. People use it even, I've seen recently, in retirement. And so they're actually looking at, when I retire, what am I going to do that's going to give me a sense of purpose? And so the ikigai is to find your own sense of purpose, your own reason for being, and it's a journey that's involved in that whole process. Leonie, do you want to share some insights into what you've experienced here?
I think when we've worked with students with this before, it's the first time that they've ever considered the fact that all of those different aspects of their life can come together in a meaningful way. They've always been seen as quite separate things. So this is a really powerful, I feel, and for my own personal sort of planning and working out, you know, what my purpose is and those sorts of things, I find Ikigai a very, very powerful model to use because it does bring all of those things, your abilities, your strengths, your interests, and so on, but also that notion of a legacy. What is it? What difference do you want to make in the world? So, yeah, I find it very, very powerful.
Yes, and our kids go through this as well. So right here where we're saying, what are you good at? This is where we get them to do their profile, because then it helps them to identify, and they've got a higher level of self-awareness of what it is to be good at something. And then we get them to pursue their passion. So if we use Corinne as an example, she was passionate about art. So we're getting her to connect what she's passionate about with what she's good at. And then we take them on then to what the world needs. And this is where, in today's world, if we're going to be engaging with all the machine learning and artificial intelligence, and it's happening already, that we're having all different things, all of the you know, like the wearable technology, it's all driven by artificial intelligence in the way it's responsive. So we need to get our kids thinking, well, what does the world need? What are the issues and concerns and problems that what does the world need at this point in time? And we have a little assessment tool that's free that we let them go through to help them to identify that. And then we start to get them thinking about what it is that they're going to be doing in their future world of work. What are they going to be paid for? Or if they're not yet at a point where they're making that decision, what is their sense of purpose? What could they do that is purposeful for them at this point in time? So that's a key point to keep in mind. So we have these particular tools here that we use. And again, we're going to put them into chat for you so that you can take that and save that chat. So this is all about aligning your life to your passions. And what it does here, it helps you to gain clarity. So for our young people, it helps them to gain clarity that will align with most of their passions that they're involved in. And so for them, if they can align with what they're good at, with their passions, then they're on their way to having that level of success and also to be more discerning about what they're doing in their life. And so what it does, it allows them to redesign how they learn, how they live, how they earn in ways that excite them, rather than just undertaking something for the sake of undertaking something in that space.
I think, Karen, too, the thing with that approach too is it is authentic compared to what they often experience in a classroom situation where they do study around something that's artificial, but when they're actually tapping into something that they're interested in, they've got that emotional investment in it. So that provides a really rich place for them to explore all of these skills, and the way it's scaffolded as well helps them. And the examples you're going to show, I think, give you ideas of how powerful that can be.
Absolutely. And this is another tool that we use here as well. And I'm just going to grab that. So this is all about purpose. And what we do here is we look at aligning that with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, because that's all about, you know, that's all about what the future needs, you know, what the world is needing at this point in time, because each one of the goals has a number of multiple issues and concerns that are behind them. And we use it as a springboard with our young people. So when they identify one of the particular goals that are more in line with their way of thinking and something that they're also interested in, everything that they're doing in the learning space becomes more meaningful for them. So here they're learning the key steps to align their daily life so that it has meaning, and they're also motivated, they're excited, and they're also given a voice. This is a big thing that young people often say, is they don't have a voice. So that's important for them to understand that. And that little quiz is also free, so that's there for you as well. So with our programs that we do, as I was saying, we allow the kids to pursue their own interests and their own passions. So something that is meaningful for them. And this is where we move away from an education that's content driven to something that's more process driven, and also aligning with something that will help the child to think that what they're going to have as an output, they're actually creating this for a specific audience that they have identified, and we've facilitated that learning and helped them to identify that. But they're doing the learning, they're developing the skills. So they're developing all those skills that we identified at the start, where they're looking at global citizenship, they're looking at being collaborative, they're looking at being creative, they're developing the digital skills and fluency, they're using some of the digital tech tools as well. So this is really important for them. So Leonie and I were engaged in this particular program, and we lead this with the young people. So we're going to share some stories here with you. So I'm going to pick up Freya, who is 12 years of age. And now Freya lived in Uganda, so she was understanding what was happening over there with animals that were being endangered, mainly due to the change in the way the land was being used and not being sufficient food and everything else. So for her, she identified an organisation that actually looks at helping the animals to survive. And for her, she put together a whole lot of research into how you could actually be involved in giving back to an organisation to help them to continue to sustain those particular animals. And then Sam, do you want to mention here about Sam, Leonie?
Yes, Sam was an inspirational young lady from New Zealand. She was, again, it was during lockdown, but she was homeschooled as well, and she had suffered depression for a number of years, and she went and did a lot of research around depression and anxiety with young people, and she created a multimedia presentation that was very, very powerful on the importance of mental health issues for young people. So not only did she come from that personal experience, but backed up by research that she had done, she created this really powerful message for young people, and also for teachers, for healthcare workers, for parents and so on, making them aware that this is a very serious issue for young people. So yeah, very, very moving, very, very powerful.
Yes, and she really was great at doing that whole multimedia presentation as well. So crucial skills when she's looking, and she's developed that a little bit further now, where she's looking at how she can help other people who have a message to get out there to put their own multimedia presentation together. And then we have Sierra, who was really consciously aware that education wasn't really serving her well. And so for her, she wanted to look at all the different aspects of the new things like virtual reality, augmented reality that's there, that will help people to be able to learn and be exposed to different aspects of life when at this time we were still locked down in pandemic. So she was saying, how could we get education more global by not being locked into just one size fits all, but looking at how virtual reality could be a way to explore all the different content around the world, but do it at a pace that is more relevant for the young person to be able to learn. And then Alex, his passion was beekeeping. And so he was wanting to think about, well, how could we look at making things like beekeeping more sustainable, because the bees are important to the ecosystems around the world. And so his research was around that, and he put together a presentation which is all about being mindful of life on the land and using his global goal of life on the land as the impetus to focus on how he could make his beekeeping more sustainable and also of least interference to the bees. So these young people, and we had many of them involved, we've just picked out 4 here, but they all were able to look at a topic that was meaningful for them and relevant. So they explored the content, we gave them the processes and skills to be able to do that, and then they all produced their own response in the way that they put together their final presentations. So this is important to understand, that the way that we're approaching this, we're looking at real world experiences for them to be able to develop the skills in preparation for their future. And then our final step in our process is the give back, the learn to earn. Now here, as I said before, some people might be looking at their future world of work and how they're going to earn. Some might want to start earning now. Some might want to earn in that they're giving back and they're making a contribution to their community. And this is why I love Sir Patrick here. Well before his time, he's saying, think globally, act locally, and urging people to be considerate of the health of the entire planet and the actions that you take. And so again, we want to focus on the global goals as the springboard, because each of those goals looks at unique issues around the world. And then if we can connect that with our young people to be able to then focus on what's meaningful for them, to be able to explore that. The process that we engage in is all around this design thinking. So this brings in the skills, but it also brings in the different ways of thinking as well. And it gets young people to look at developing kind of prototypes and then checking in to see whether that solution works. And then, of course, ramping that up and scaling that up. So our thinking, like at this point here, the problem is more convergent thinking. It's identifying one particular problem or issue or concern, and then expanding in the convergent thinking and also the intuitive thinking to say, well, what is out there? What do we already know? And then start to explore and discover what insights they can gain in this engagement with information, and then bringing it back then to more convergent thinking. So start to really define it and define the problem, but also define what the solution or potential solution might be, and then to start to expand our thinking again to look at, well, what can we create that will be something that we could be learning and earning at the same time, and then presenting that out into the world. So the solution is the output. And we've had a lot of young people come with us on our Young Entrepreneur Academy. So what they're doing is they're going through that whole process of learning how to learn, but then also learning to discern, but then learning to earn as well. And all through using design thinking processes to get them engaged. We have a little tool that we use to help them to connect in with that as well. And that's our Young Genius quiz. So that's, I'll put that into the text box as well, so in the chat, so that you can go and visit that. And this is a really great tool to help young people to be able to understand how they would develop their entrepreneurial spirit and their mindset, but then how to engage with that to be able to learn to earn in the space. And just here as a bit of an example, we've got our young people who've engaged in our Young Entrepreneur Academy, and each of them, again, they pursued something that's meaningful for them, but they've used their understanding of the unique skills that they have and the unique strengths that they have around their particular profile. So we're talking about Corinne before. So Corinne is a dynamo, as we said, pursuing her artwork and her creativity and her creative genius. And then we have others around the what we call the talent dynamic square, exercising their profile. And we have them from different backgrounds, different cultures, different learning capabilities. So we've got people who have come and they've developed resources that are useful for people who have dyslexia. So we've got here the creation, our little Lord genius creating a text so that people who have dyslexic can actually read that particular text and understand it. So each of these young people have used their own different talents and capabilities to start create a little business. And we've had things from creating soaps that are sustainable and organic, to people who are concierge type declutterers and helping people to declutter their spaces, to people who've done podcasts, people who've looked at, we've got Alex here who engaged in his beekeeping that we shared before. So each of these young people have used what they're naturally good at to start to learn and earn in a different capacity. And that's great to see in the way that they do that. Now, Angie, I see that you've joined us. Welcome.
I have. Great to be here. Thank you, Karen. It's so great when we look at those images of the children who've been through the programs, isn't it? It brings back so many happy memories of transformation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I'm just wondering, do you want to, as our leader of our Genius School, do you want to pick up the pace now in looking at sharing the actual Genius School solution?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Karen. Hi, everybody. So for Genius School, that we see the solution as being 3 pillars, looking at the whole child, a more holistic approach to personalizing learning for children. And we do that in 3 ways: by growing their self-awareness so that they understand themselves a lot better. They get to understand their unique talents, capabilities, their passions, their purpose. And also in doing so, what drives them, their intrinsic motivation. And then we encourage the self-expression, the full expression of their true selves through expressing their talents and their abilities by pursuing subjects or professions or businesses that really matter to them. If we can engage our self-awareness and self-expression, then we are more intrinsically motivated. We're going to persist through difficulties as we journey through our learning journey, or also our work, life, business journey towards self-mastery. And self-mastery, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that whole self-actualization, just like learning, that's a lifelong pursuit. So our goal is that our students develop a love of life and a love of learning. And we have tools that help students to do that as well. So like the Genius test, which is free. So go ahead, if you've not done it yourself already, then do go and play with the Genius test. And we've got our Teen Genius test as well. We've got the Teen Dynamics test, which is used for it's the same as the Teen Dynamics and Talent Dynamics tests are more in-depth versions of the Genius test. So with the Genius test, we look at the 4 geniuses. With the profile tests like Teen, Talent and Wealth Dynamics, we look at the 8 different profiles. So all of these tools help us to grow in our self-awareness and to understand our unique skills and abilities. And then from that, we have the passion test and the purpose test, which is absolutely free, as well as the young entrepreneur quiz and the educator quiz. So I do encourage you to go and have a play with these quizzes and tests. They're either free, most of them are free, or a very small fee, but they are certainly enlightening. And this is all based on personalizing education experiences, because as Einstein said, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. And I just love that, because it couldn't communicate any better, really, what we are wanting to achieve through Genius School. So thank you, Karen. And, it's based too on, like, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, then we rob them of tomorrow. And that's a pretty sobering thought, but it's also a huge motivator for myself and Karen and Leonie here on the call. Thanks, Karen. So how do we do this? How do we achieve growing self-awareness in order to achieve full self-expression? Well, the important thing is that we have real-world learning experiences. If learning is meaningful, then students are more likely to be engaged. And through those real-world learning experiences, we're developing future-ready skills. We're actually growing the positive learning dispositions in our students, because if something's meaningful and it matters and it's going to have an impact on your society, your family, or your business, then you're going to persist through difficulty and you're going to find a way to overcome challenges. And in doing this, we personalize the learning experiences through real life problem solving. So it's a challenge-based program that is purpose-driven, through which we create leading learners. And because we're growing the self-awareness and solving real life problems, then we are creating lifelong learners. Because when students develop a love of learning, then they want to keep learning, because it's part of our human innate driver. So it's really, really important that we do that. So in doing so, as the next slide says, that we are educating for the future. So in Genius School, we offer both an educator training pathway, where we teach our educators how to use all our free tools and assessments, and how to implement these within your teaching, if you're a teacher, or within your education setting, or within your business. So we train educators on how to use the free assessments in order to grow self-awareness and develop future-ready skills. And very importantly, the entrepreneurial spirit in our young people. So they don't actually have to go and look to someone else to give them a job. They can actually go and create their own jobs or their own future careers or businesses. And so on that, we are running a Genius Educator certification program in Bali, and that's to be held in November. Exact week to be confirmed, but this is a week-long retreat in the luxury Vision Villas resort with the most amazing food, always with the most inspiring people. And we go and work together, develop our plans for our business or for our curriculum, where we learn how to use all of our tools. And Karen, if I can jump to the next slide, as much as those images are really gorgeous, makes me want to go back there next week. So our goal is that every person that attends this program, whilst you're at the retreat with these inspired leaders, you get to create your own education business or your own curriculum content. So this program includes flow consultant training. And when we say flow consultant, that's a person who can actually profile and debrief people on their unique talents and abilities. Then we have the youth consultant micro degree as well, where it takes the flow consultant training and it teaches our educators how to actually make that more relevant to young people and profile young people and their families. Both of those programs are worth $1,500 each, so that's $3,000 worth of value. Plus we have the 5-day Genius Educator training, which is, like I say, on site at a luxury resort, which is $3,500 of value. And through that program, we develop a deep understanding of the energies and the profiles. We dig deep into the Genius School philosophy and why and how that's relevant to future skills. We learn how to debrief teens and their families. We learn about the Genius School principles and learning methodology, and also discover how to provide personalized learning experiences, which is relevant to anybody who's a home tutor or a teacher. And also how to facilitate online and offline learning experiences, as I'm sure you know, highly relevant for the world we live in today. So through this program too, we provide 25 Teen Dynamics profile tokens and 25 Talent Dynamics profile tokens. Now, if you were to use those tokens to profile and debrief young people and their families, then you can generate $15,000 worth of revenue straight away. So you can earn money from the minute you sign up and you've completed those virtual micro degrees. And also you can generate revenue through the sales of our programs, our products and our events, or you can put your own micro degrees, events or programs on the Genius U platform. So you would generate revenue through our sales because you would automatically become an affiliate and you would earn extra affiliate commission as one of our Genius Educator community. But you can promote your events through our Genius U EdTech platform as well. And that's hugely valuable because you would have mentor status, which would give you the ability to put your programs upon our platform. So It also includes the Genius Educator license. Now, when we say a license, that means that you are part of our community for that whole year. And Karen and myself hold monthly Genius Educator mentor calls, where we give you personalized mentoring for the whole year. And that's a group call every single month, and you get to connect with other like-minded people, with other Genius educators who are making a real difference in the world. And that mentor status on Genius U as well, which means you can engage in all the online content on Genius U that is free, or you can choose to pay for some content as well. But even more importantly, you can earn money by having your content on that platform at the same time. So as a certified Genius educator too, you may be invited to facilitate some of our programs. So when Karen and I are running events and we have students all over the world attending our different programs, whether it be our camps or our Young Entrepreneur Academy, and you've heard some of those amazing stories, then we need more people to support us in offering the mentor sessions or to co-facilitate through the programs. It's our Genius educator community that we reach out to do that. And of course, you would be paid if you were to support us with those programs. And we also provide access to our Genius Micro Camp micro degree. Now that's a complete how-to toolkit. So as long as you're a Genius educator, i.e. you're a mentor, you have mentor status, you have access to this micro degree, which gives you all the tools, all the curriculum content, all the documents and resources that you need to go and run your own Genius School micro camp. And this program really supports people to develop their self-awareness and work towards self-mastery through self-expression. So it's amazing. I'm sure Karen shared some of the transformational experiences. It's an absolutely fantastic experience for young people where they get actual practical experiential learning. And you can run those camps either in your school, in your church hall, in your community centre. So it's really easy, fast way to directly impact the local community you're in. And some businesses choose to sponsor this as well. So it's really cool. So on completion of the training, you will create your own education business. You'll generate your own revenue through the profiling tools and debriefing skills that you'll learn through our training. You'll earn revenue through your own products and events, should you choose to put them up on Genius U, but you can also earn revenue from ours as well. You can co-facilitate or lead Genius School camps either with Karen and myself or your own camps in your own community, and also supporting other educators through the affiliate sites. So we have amazing educators like Leonie, who's on this call, who have their own micro courses on Genius U, who are very happy to pay affiliate commissions to people who promote their programs. And what a great way to really learn with and you know, work alongside other thought leaders in education. So it's really great to have this community of educators who work together, collaborate, support each other, and really inspire each other to really stretch and grow in your education business. So the potential revenue you can earn through being accredited as a Genius educator is up to $40,000 a year. And that's just by running your camps and by having your micro degrees up or supporting our products and services. And remember, you get all of those tokens as well that are valued at around $50 to $120 US dollars each. Just selling them tokens more than covers any outlay that you make in signing up for the program. So so the total recommended certification registration fee, if we were to add up all of those things I've just talked about, is $7,500. But you can enroll today for just $4,500. So that includes your full stay in the luxury resort for the whole week, as well as all those trainings and all that curriculum content and policies, procedures, everything that you need to start your own education business. So if anybody is interested, then I do suggest you take action now. You don't have to make a decision. You don't have to pay now. You don't have to buy now. But if you are thinking that this is for you, then take immediate action and book a call with us. Karen and I are very happy to have a conversation with you and to explore opportunities, or even to learn more about what you're doing and see how what you're doing can fit in and what opportunities might be there for you within the Genius School community, because we are inspired to actually grow the community of like-minded education change makers who are going to ignite the genius in the next generation and really, really ignite global transformation through growing the self-awareness of our young people. So we would love to talk to you. Do book a call if it's something you're interested in, and we'll look forward to chatting to you. But I would like to say, Karen, as our amazing webinar host, any final words from you?
Well, only to say that people might look at the cost of investing in this at learning, but it's for a whole 12 months. As you've indicated, the micro degrees are there. The actual commitment of showing up face-to-face is the training in Bali, but then you're going to get that 12 months mentoring and monthly calls with Angie and myself, and we have some significant breakthroughs with our educators when they engage in that and commit to actually showing up and being involved in those monthly calls. So it's like a 12-month professional learning program that you're involved in, and it allows you then, as Angie said, you can dip into some of the other tools that are on the EdTech Genius U platform, which will also help you in growing your own education business. So be aware that this is like 12 months of being with us and being with the other educators in the community to be able to collaborate. So as we were saying right at the start, these new future skills are going to involve creativity, collaboration, global citizenship, all of those things, digital development of digital skills. So you'll be developing those along with your fellow educators in the program.
Yeah, well said, Karen. And of course, Karen and I host those calls every single month, so we can hand on heart say it's an amazing community and very supportive community. And what's more important than supporting the next generation to achieve the very best and be the best they can be? And for me, there's nothing more important than that. So I really do hope to see you there. Do book a call if you've got any questions, and thank you so much for attending. And a huge thank you to you, Karen and Leonie, for your amazingness and your wisdom.
Our pleasure. Thanks, Angie. Thanks, Leonie.